Get your filthy stuff out of here, or I'm calling security. Asterisk, her voice cut through the summer air like a knife. My hands froze on the last box I was carrying into the house. My pregnant wife Leela stood behind me, her hand on her belly. Already breathing hard from the stairs, Asterisk, the woman in the tennis visor Karen, we'd later find out stood at the bottom of our porch with a clipboard in one hand and a tiny dog in the other, like she ran the whole block. Asterisk, this is private. HOA property, she snapped. You're trespassing. Asterisk, I turned to look at our front door. The one with our name already on the mailbox, the deed in my glove box. I kept calm. Asterisk, we bought this house 2 weeks ago, I said. All paperwork is final. Asterisk, Karen just smirked. Like I'd told her a joke. Asterisk, no, she said slowly, waving the clipboard. This house was under review. I already gave notice to the last agent. You're not approved by the board. Asterisk board. There was no board. This wasn't even an HOA neighborhood. I'd checked before we signed. Something in her eyes told me she wasn't going to back off. Asterisk, Leela stepped beside me, sweating and holding her back. Ma'am, please, I'm 8 months pregnant, and Asterisk, Karen raised her phone. That's not my problem. I'm calling HOA enforcement right now. And she did. 10 minutes later, 2 men in black shirts and cargo pants pulled up in a black SUV. No badges, no uniforms. One of them flashed some cheap-looking ID and told us we were in violation of HOA Code 17A and had 5 minutes to vacate. Asterisk, this isn't legal, I said quietly, stepping between Lila and the men. There's no HOA here. I have the closing documents. Asterisk, the taller man stepped forward. You want this to get ugly? I reached for my phone. But before I could hit record, Lila screamed. The other guy had grabbed her arm, and then she lost her balance. I saw her feet slip. Her hand grabbed for the railing, asterisk, and then I heard the worst sound I've ever heard in my life. ... Her body hit the ground below the porch. Everything went silent. Asterisk, I didn't feel my feet move. But the next second, I was kneeling beside her, checking. Her pulse, her breath, her belly. Her eyes fluttered. Karen stood at the top of the stairs with a blank look. She faked that, she muttered. I barely touched her. You're not supposed to be here. I looked up at her, and something inside me snapped. She had no idea who I really was. I didn't shout, I didn't curse, I didn't threaten. I just pulled out my phone and hit a contact labeled Ghost. A man's voice picked up after the first ring. It's happening, I said. I'm 15 minutes out, the voice replied. You want full kit? Asterisk. I glanced at the 2 fake HOA enforcers who were now backing away, realizing they'd just assaulted a pregnant woman. One of them started stammering something about it being just a misunderstanding. Meanwhile, it pulled out her phone again and snapped a photo of me crouched next to Lila, like we were the criminals. Asterisk. She had no idea what she'd just triggered. Asterisk, Lila coughed softly and opened her eyes. I'm okay, she whispered, voice shaking. It's the baby I'm scared for. Asterisk, I nodded. My voice stayed steady, but inside I was holding back a storm. Asterisk, we're going to the ER, I said out loud. Then looked directly at Karen. You just committed assault, and you're impersonating HOA authority. That's a felony. Asterisk, she smirked again. I know the sheriff, sweetie. Good luck getting anyone to believe you. Asterisk, that's when I opened the back of my pickup and pulled out the drone case. Karen's smile faded for the first time. Asterisk, this whole street's been under aerial surveillance since last week, I said. Everything's recorded, including your little stunt. Asterisk, the guy with the cargo pants took a step back. Man, we didn't know she was like we were just hired to shut up, Karen snapped. Too late. I had it all now. Asterisk, as I helped. Lila into the truck. I caught the flash of Ghost's car pulling into the side alley. He wasn't dressed in gear yet, and I knew what would happen if they pushed even one step further. Asterisk, the taller fake cop, walked up and whispered to Karen. I couldn't hear the words. But I saw her face drop when he showed her something on his phone. She turned pale. She finally understood who she was messing with, and the real game had just begun. At the hospital, they rushed Lila into an exam room. Her vitals were stable. Baby's heartbeat was strong. but they wanted to keep her overnight for monitoring. Asterisk, I stood by the window, arms crossed, watching the sunset smear orange across the skyline. My phone buzzed. Ghost. Footage secured. Got plates. Got faces. Want me to run facial recon? Me. Yeah. Full workup. Send it to Barrett. Asterisk Ghost replied with a thumbs-up emoji. That was his way. Asterisk, I didn't like bringing Barrett into this. He owed me one from the last deployment, and calling in that favor meant things were serious. But someone had just shoved my pregnant wife off a balcony, then tried to cover it up using a fake HOA, and hired muscle. This wasn't just harassment. Asterisk this was a coordinated setup. Asterisk, and that clipboard Karen waved around? I remembered something. She had the same HOA logo we'd seen once before. On an eviction notice someone tried to post on my dad's farm last year. A non-existent HOA that operated more like a real estate hit squad. Asterisk back then. We thought it was a scam. Now it was personal. My phone rang again. This time it was Barrett. You're on speaker, I said. I ran the footage, he said. Without small talk, one of those guys used to work, private security in Texas, was involved in 2 forced evictions. Unlicensed. Record was sealed. Asterisk, and Karen? Asterisk. She's not Karen. Real name's Carla Emerson. Filed bankruptcy 3 times. She's listed on 4 shell HOA boards across the state. It's a land grab operation. It's targeting homes with unpaid taxes, military families, immigrants. Anyone vulnerable? Asterisk, my jaw tightened. And she's got cops in her pocket? Asterisk, local sheriff's cousin is married to her? That's the chain. But she made one mistake. Asterisk, what? Asterisk, she messed with a Delta Force operator who still has drone access and military clearance. Barrett paused. Want to go loud or quiet? I looked over at Lila, sleeping in the hospital bed, her hand resting over her belly. Quiet, I said, but no mercy. Asterisk, 2 nights later, I parked down the block from our house lights off, engine quiet. Lila was safe at her sister's, and Ghost was perched on a rooftop with a thermal scope. He'd already confirmed movement. Asterisk Karen was back. On our porch, she thought we were gone for good. She had 3 men with her this time. Same fake black SUV, same cheap badges. But tonight, they weren't just here to scare. They were loading our boxes into a trailer, stealing everything. Asterisk, I clicked my earpiece. Visual. Asterisk Ghost's voice came through calm. 1 by the truck, 2 in the garage. Karen's directing. Asterisk copy. Stand by. Asterisk I got out, moving low along the hedges, stopping at the side gate. My boots didn't make a sound. I'd been trained for ops that never made the news. My job had been to get in, eliminate threats, and vanish. Asterisk this. This was personal. I wanted them to know. Asterisk Karen's voice rang out. Hurry up. They're not supposed to be back until Monday. If we get the furniture out, we can lock it down. Got it, boss, one of the men said. Boss asterisk, so she was running this thing like a company. Fake notices, fake enforcement, real theft. I stepped around the back of the house and activated the floodlight. The entire yard lit up like a stadium. The men froze. Kieran spun, hand flying up to shield her eyes. Asterisk, and then I stepped forward. Full tactical gear, camera mounted to my chest, badge in hand. But not their kind of badge. Federal Task Force Consultant, Property Crimes Division, asterisk 1. Of my old covers, still valid, still very much active. Karen's mouth dropped open. You're trespassing, I said calmly. You're impersonating law enforcement. And you just stole over $20,000 in property from a federal consultant's home. The guy at the truck bolted. Bad move. Asterisk Ghost fired a single warning shot rubber round straight into the side of the trailer. The guy hit the dirt like a sack of potatoes. Asterisk Karen started to scream, but I raised my phone and hit play. Asterisk surveillance audio. Her own voice, clear as day. Asterisk, if we move fast, he won't have time to stop us. The deeds. Fake anyway. Her legs buckled. I walked up to her. Slow asterisk. You thought I was just some quiet vet moving into your playground, I said. But you stepped on the wrong land, Karen. Asterisk then, I turned to the second camera one, mounted by my drone, now hovering. Overhead, asterisk. Don't worry, I added, voice hard. The real police are already on the way. Red and blue lights lit up the street 3 minutes later. Asterisk Karen tried to pull it together, fixing her hair like she was the victim. She even smiled at the first deputy who stepped out. Asterisk officer. Thank God. These men are impersonating federal. Agency held up a hand, cutting her off. We've already received the footage, he said. You're under investigation for multiple counts of impersonation, trespassing, attempted grand larceny, and assault. Step away from the property. Her jaw hung open. What? No, this is a misunderstanding. I'm with the HOA. Asterisk, the deputy looked down at the clipboard she was still clutching. He flipped it open, nodded once, then held it up to his partner. Asterisk, fake letterhead. No registration. HOA doesn't exist. Asterisk, then he turned to me. You the homeowner? Asterisk, I nodded. Yes, sir. Asterisk, he gave a slow nod. Respectful now, with informer Delta. Asterisk, yes, sir. Asterisk, thank you for your service. We've got it from here. Deputies, 2 deputies cuffed Karen while she protested, her voice climbing to that awful shrill pitch only people like her could reach. The fake enforcers were lined up by the SUV, heads down. One was already crying. Karen kicked, shouted, tried to twist out of their grip. You're making a huge mistake. My cousin's the sheriff. I know people. Asterisk, the officer didn't even blink. Then they can visit you at county. You're being charged. Asterisk, just then, Lila's sister pulled up in her car. Lila was in the back seat, watching through the window, hands resting on her stomach. Safe. Calm. The way she should have been all along. Asterisk. I walked over as she rolled the window down. Asterisk. It's over, I said. She looked toward Karen being shoved into the patrol car. Is it? She whispered. Because women like her. They don't just stop. I didn't answer right away. Because Lila was right. Asterisk that night. I reviewed the rest. Of Ghost's footage, and something new showed up. Karen had received a call before showing up at our place. A man's voice on speaker. Clear instructions. Even mentioned my name. Someone else was behind this. Someone bigger, asterisk. And if they knew who I was, they were playing a very dangerous game. Asterisk. Sent the audio clip to Barrett. He called back 5 minutes later. That voice, he said. I ran it through our old logs. It's not just some scammer. His name's Vincent Locke, ex-county commissioner. Got kicked out for shady land deals. He's been rebuilding underground, using fake HOAs to pressure vulnerable families out, then flipping properties for profit. And he knew my name, I said. Barrett didn't speak for a second. Asterisk, yeah, he finally said. Because you stopped one of his deals overseas years ago. Remember the arms pipeline we intercepted in Libya? I did, and now it all made sense. Asterisk Locke wasn't just targeting me for land. This was revenge wrapped in greed. Asterisk, he's not done, Barrett. Said he's just using Karen and people like her as shields. This goes way deeper. Asterisk, I figured, I said, standing by the front door. Staring at the porch where Lila fell, Asterisk's ghost had already installed a new security system. 3 drones were set to auto-patrol. But that wouldn't stop what was coming. Asterisk, I want him exposed, I said. Legally. Publicly. No shadows this time. Asterisk, Barrett chuckled. You sure you've gone soft? Asterisk, no, I said quietly. I just want the world to see. Asterisk, the next day, I walked into the local records office with my phone already recording. My boots echoed through the marble hallway. The clerk barely looked up. I need all HOA filings tied to this address, I said. She typed for a second, then frowned. Asterisk, there's no HOA here. Asterisk, then why did a woman claim authority over my house last week? Asterisk, she blinked. I don't know, but I see a pattern here. 4 houses on your street filed complaints in the last year. Same fake. HOA letterhead. Bingo. By evening, I had copies. Ghost had matched the logo to a shell company. Barrett tracked the payments. And I filed everything under the RICO Act federal racketeering. Asterisk. We had them. Asterisk. But just as I handed the evidence to the local DA, my phone buzzed. Unknown number, I answered. Asterisk. A deep voice spoke. Slow and smug. Asterisk. You're making a mistake, soldier. Some battles aren't worth fighting. Asterisk. I didn't respond. I just let the silence hang. Then he added something that sent ice through my spine. Your wife goes out walking every morning, doesn't she? He hung up. And just like that, I knew this wasn't over. I didn't call Leela. Asterisk, I didn't. Panic. Instead, I activated Protocol 9. It was something we used back in Black Ops era. Extreme, and only when there was a credible threat against family. Within 10 minutes, Ghost had Lila rerouted under escort to a safe house 2 towns over. Barrett was already en route to me. Asterisk and I went hunting. Locke wanted to play like this. It's fine. Asterisk, I pulled up the files Ghost had decrypted property transfers. Internal memos, audio clips, wire payments. And then I found it, a scheduled board meeting for one of his fake HOAs. Night at an abandoned bank building he'd bought last year. Asterisk, a fake HOA meeting. In a real stolen building? He didn't expect me to show up, but I did. Asterisk, midnight, no lights inside. But Ghost had mapped the layout by drone hours ago. I entered through the side loading dock, silent as breath. Inside voices echoed through the concrete walls. Asterisk. We've cleared out 3 properties this week. The vet's house was supposed to be done, but that idiot Karen blew it. Asterisk then. Should we deal with him directly? Locke's voice responded, low and icy. We don't touch him. Not yet. He's bait. I want to see who else comes running. Bad move. I stepped into the open, and every head in that circle turned. Asterisk Locke stood at the end of the table, frozen. Then slowly, he smiled. Asterisk. Well, if it isn't the war hero himself, asterisk, I'm done warning you, I said. You crossed every line. Asterisk, he raised an eyebrow. You planning to take down an entire operation with what? A drone and a camera? I said then. Ghost's voice echoed through the room from a hidden speaker. Smile, Vincent. Your live. Whole feeds being streamed straight to a federal cybercrime division in D.C. Locke's face twisted. Barrett stepped in from the other side of the room, flipping his badge. You're under federal investigation for conspiracy, racketeering, wire fraud, and targeted intimidation. Hey, and by the way, Delta Boy here is working directly under U.S. Property Recovery Task Force, reinstated as of this morning. I looked at Locke, whose smile had vanished. You picked the wrong soldier, I said. Asterisk, the agent swarmed in seconds later. No shots fired, no resistance. Locke was too shocked to even speak. Just like Karen, he'd built his power on fear and lies. But fear doesn't work on people who've already survived hell. 2 weeks later, headlines hit every major network. Asterisk, fake HOA syndicate busted in multi-state sting, led by ex-commissioner. Asterisk, veteran turned federal asset brings down land grab empire. Asterisk, pregnant wife attacked, husband turns the table on corrupt power. Asterisk, Karen was sentenced first 8 months for impersonating authority, trespassing, and assault. Meltdown went viral. She screamed about being framed and disrespected, but no one bought it. The footage was too clear. The intent to evil, asterisk, Locke faced federal charges. RICO, wire fraud, conspiracy, and something poetic. The courtroom had a full-color blow-up of the fake HOA notice he'd printed, next to the deed to my house. The real one. Signed, recorded. Bulletproof. Asterisk, I sat next to Lila the day they read the verdict. Her belly had grown. She rested her hand over it, calm, quiet. Asterisk, we didn't cheer when they read guilty. We didn't need to. Justice had already landed like a hammer. Afterward, the sheriff, the real one, shook my hand. I can't believe. This went on right under our noses, he said. You did what most wouldn't. Asterisk, I nodded. I didn't fight for this country just to get pushed off my own land. Asterisk, that line made it into the papers. People started calling messaging vets, single moms, even immigrants who'd been through the same. Turns out Locke's empire had roots in 7 counties. All of it collapsed like a house of cards once we pulled the right one. Asterisk, but more than anything, ... we got our peace back. No more threats. No more strange men outside. Just morning coffee on our porch, the sound of wind through the trees, and the knowledge that if anyone tried again, they wouldn't be knocking on just my door. Asterisk, they'd be walking into a fortress, built on honor, guarded by truth, protected by someone who doesn't back down. Ever asterisk.